What's up, everyone? Lord Ryujin, aka the Game Brain, whatever you want to call me. I'm here again with another edition of the Retro Gamers Den. So, this week's topic is one that I've kind of gone back and forth on for the past couple of days. I've been waiting, I've been sitting on it, I've been trying to lull it over, but I think it's about time that I just sit down and get these random thoughts out of my head, share them with you, and maybe have you share your comments with me. This week's topic is this supposed death of video games that we're going to be soon in the last generation of consoles with the PlayStation 4, the Wii U, and the Xbox One, etc., etc. Now, with this, I'm going to do this three ways. Probably, well, more likely two. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you the good, the bad, and the final. I'm going to give you what I think is kind of good about this, what I feel is bad about it, and I'm going to give you my final thoughts on the matter. So let's begin with this. First of all, the good part. If this is the final console generation, then that's kind of good, because I'm a collector. And the thing about collecting is it never feels like it ends. If we are truly in the final console generation, then good, because I can get a PS4 and I can, get all the games for it and be done with it. And then if we do end up with having like a tablet, for an example, that just gives you the processor that it needs to create a game, and you just simply pay for like PlayStation Plus, you pay for Xbox Live like you do now, and it's just a service. You can go and you can download these games, you can play them on a tablet with a controller that you personally like, instead of having to be one-sided and be like, well, I like Xbox games, but I don't like the controller. Well, now you can play Xbox-ish games with a controller that looks more like a PlayStation controller, if that's what you want. It's kind of a good thing in a way. So I kind of see the positives of it, because yes, being able to have one console that does everything is nice. It's one of the main reasons why I kind of understand why people are PC gamers. But now let's move on to the bad, shall we? You're an idiot if you think for a second, because I watched Review Tech USA do a video on this, and I have to disagree with them. I don't think that we will ever see the end of gaming consoles, and I have to just kindly disagree with this. It's just simply my opinion. You can sit here and you can say all you want that tablets are getting better technology-wise, yada yada yada. You can say all that stuff. That's fine, that's cool, and yes, maybe a tablet will one day catch up with the PlayStation 3 specs. Maybe one day. And maybe one day it'll catch up with the PlayStation 4 specs. But you are naive or dumb if you think that a tablet is ever going to be truly next gen. It's not. It's not. I mean, look at, like, for just an example, Rayman Origins, and then look at what came out on like the iPhone and the Android. Rayman Jungle Beat or something like that, Jungle Race, whatever. It was similar, but it was a pale comparison. It wasn't nearly as large. So even if you can then have a tablet that can make a game that plays a game like Rayman Legends, for example, you're not going to have the same length. You're not going to have the same graphics power. I mean, let's face it, mobile phones are difficult to make games for. This is the reason why PC gaming right now is actually kind of the most preferred thing, because you're able to create a game and then the user has to come out with the specs. But with mobile gaming, a lot of times people, they have to create that real quick game. They have to create that, I mean, it comes out with a different architecture. It's the reason why you have, it's sort of like, the best way that I can think of to describe it is like how the Wii was with the PlayStation 3 and the Xbox 360. The PlayStation 3 and the Xbox 360 had a lot of similar games because they had a very similar way of creating the games that developers could use. and they had to work within the confines of certain things because it didn't quite have the RAM processing speed, frame rate, all that stuff that a PC had. But with the Wii, they had to really do a lot of work, and that's sort of the same way that it is now. I just can't fathom it in my head anyway. I can't foresee a phone, something that only has about the size of a portable maybe? I mean, even if it's a tablet and it has a 9-inch screen, I still can't see something that's essentially a 9-inch box being able to have that much processing power that's going to be able to keep up with something. Like, let's assume that by the time tablets get to that point, that maybe the best they can do is maybe PlayStation 4. And maybe by the time that happens, we've already gotten technological leaps that cannot be put into. I mean, because that's the reason why consoles exist. They have processors, they have cooling factors, they have many different elements in them that could only be fit in a box. I mean, if you look at the processing power of the Wii U, for an example, and then look how small that is. That is probably and even with the 3DS, that's the smallest they could make it. And at best, that looks probably like GameCube, PlayStation 2-ish kind of games. Depending upon the developer, of course, and what they do with it. But my whole point in my rant, yes, there are some good elements to it. I mean, if I can carry around a tablet, and I can carry, and then I can play God of War, and then turn around and play Fable, and then turn around and play Legend of Zelda on one device, that's great. That's good for me, because that just means that I have to. But I've already done rants before about how I don't like digital. I don't really like digital. I prefer physical, unless it's only available. Like the way Portal was, the only way to get the game by itself was digital. So I had to get it digitally. But Portal 2 was available as a standalone disc, so I bought it on physical. Do you see what I'm saying? And to me, it defeats the purpose, because again, if it's digital and something happens to my tablet, or just something happens to where the PlayStation servers are down or something, I can't play the game because it's only available digitally, and now it can't connect to the PlayStation network to verify this, and so therefore I don't. Because for the longest time, that's what happened to my PlayStation Portable. I couldn't get online with it. I couldn't get within an access point. I couldn't get the free games that I had downloaded and put onto my PlayStation. I was literally stuck without them. And now I figured out a way to do it. You see? But it has to verify every now and then. I still have to be able to log in, and I have to be able to set the time through the internet so that way it can verify when I got them. And that's the problem that I have with digital. Is if that happens to happen, that's my concern. So there's some good elements and there's some bad elements to it. My worry, I guess the best way for me to put it is, I just don't see the technology catching up. Yeah, sure, tablets and smartphones, they are advancing by leaps and bounds. I get it, because I see it all the time. I see games. But if you look at mostly at what people use tablets and smartphones for, they mostly use it for that quick, casual game. You know, they use it for Angry Birds. They use it for a Facebook game. And even if you get some big game on there, you know, like even if you manage to get somebody who does put that kind of game there, I just don't think that that's what the market is. Most people, they want a phone for a phone, and they have apps on it for real quick use. I really do think that we're still going to have a market of people who would rather sit down with a dedicated gaming device and dedicate 3-4 hours to it. And granted, I know that with Bluetooth and the fact that these things can be hooked up to controllers and with HDMI out, be able to hook them with the TV so that way you can play them like consoles. So I get it. But if you see my earlier argument, I don't think that the technology will catch up that quickly. Because yes, the PlayStation 4 might have a 10-year life cycle, and maybe soon a tablet will be able to catch up to what the PlayStation 4 or the Xbox One will be capable of doing. But then, who knows? After all, Microsoft was talking about the 360 was going to have a 10-year lifespan, and it didn't have a 10-year lifespan, did it? And now they got to come out with the One after about, what, 8 years or so, a couple of years shy. So who's to say that simply because a tablet catches up to something that the Xbox One or the PS4 doesn't mean that in 6 or 7 years they're just going to come out with the PlayStation 5 and come out with something that, again, is more technologically advanced that the tablets can't do. And it's just going to be a simple catch-up game with tablets. You know, I mean, it happens. And even if it does, because that's what the Ouya is. The Ouya is essentially a Google dedicated device where you can download Android games and play them on your television. That doesn't necessarily mean that the Ouya is better or that a tablet is better. It just means that they do the same thing. And that's what I think that the future might be, and that's what my final thought is it might maybe match. I'm willing to meet in the middle on this because personally I want games to stay around. I'm a gamer first and foremost. I've been a gamer since I was probably 6 or 7 years old. I've been gaming for over 25 years. I actually think it's going on close to 30 years now. I don't know the exact amount. I know it's more than 25, but it's getting pretty close to 30 years that I've been gaming. It's been a long time. I've been gaming since the Nintendo Entertainment System, and every single system since then. I've you know, Super Nintendo, Genesis, Sega CD, 32X, Sega Saturn, Sega Dreamcast, Nintendo 64, GameCube, PlayStation 1, Xbox, everything. I mean, I even have systems that I can't even go into because my list would just be too long, and I don't have that kind of time in this narration. But the fact is that I love games, and I love game consoles, and I think that the game consoles bring an exclusive element to it that you can't get anywhere else. Like, look at what the Wii U gamepad is doing. The fact that it's able to control the game and make things like the inventory separate from the game so it doesn't interfere with the gaming experience that you're going through. And you know, with the gyroscope functions and the built-in camera and the built-in microphone, there's so much stuff that it could do, like how the 3DS took the Fatal Frame series and had that little spin-off with Cursed Memoir or Cursed Notebook or whatever it was called, and it did something completely different and new with it, just based upon using its camera functionalities and the gyroscope functionality. I mean, that's something that I don't think a tablet could do, but it might take a little bit more work to do it than to just simply do it on something like, I don't know, the Xbox One, because it automatically is going to have Kinect built into it. Because again, the problem that I foresee, and this is the problem that I've always had, especially with PCs, is there's no guarantee. So because this happens to me, okay, I have an Android phone that is not able to download a bunch of apps because it has an older version that's incompatible. There is no guarantee to a developer that simply because you bring out God of War 6 or Halo 19 or Call of Duty 9982 or whatever, that the person who has that has a tablet is going to be able to download it. There's no guarantee, because they might only be able to afford maybe an Android 5 and they're on Android 10. They might only be able to get an Android 7. You see, like that? And this game requires an Android 10. Or they can only get the iPhone 7 and they're on iPhone 999. You know, like, I know that that's a bad example of that last one with Apple, but I'm just saying that you don't know what people can afford. The developers can't. But with a gaming console, if somebody buys a PlayStation 4, you know that they have that controller. You know that they have this much space. You know that they have... It's just like with the Xbox One and the Kinect. You know that everybody that buys an Xbox One has a Kinect. So making a game that uses Kinect for an Xbox One game is more than likely going to happen a lot, because it's a guaranteed device. Comes with every single system. You see what I'm saying? And so that's the reason why I think gaming consoles are going to be around for a long, long time, because they bring that to the table. They bring a guaranteed structure. They bring a guaranteed so much RAM, so many specs, that the developer knows what they can develop for. They know their limitations, and they know, like when somebody develops a game for the Wii U, they know that it has that touchscreen. They know what they can do with it, and they know that every single Wii U can use that. And so they don't have to feel like, well, we would love to develop for Smart Glass, but we're not sure if everybody who has an Xbox uses their tablet or uses their phone with it. Therefore, we won't. And that's the problem. That's the reason why I think gaming is going to be around for a long time. There's no guarantee that somebody's going to have the adequate tablet. Just like on PC. I can't tell you how many PC games I've tried to actually play that my computer was not strong enough to handle it. So I gave up on PC gaming. It's not worth my time. I don't have $8,000 to invest a year to keep my computer up to date to be able to play half these damn games that come out. Screw that. Eventually it will get a console port, and then I'll be able to play it. Oh, it's kind of like with the Steam box, which is another thing that I wanted to talk about. The Steam machine, you know, that controller is guaranteed to be of every single system, so they know what they're getting into, and they know they can integrate it. That kind of stuff. There's no guarantee with it. Is this the death of gaming? No. Is it the death of consoles? Probably, especially because tablets and smartphone technology is catching up rather quick, but I just personally don't see it happening. I think that even if a tablet or a smartphone is capable of handling a game that could be on a PlayStation 4, that you're still going to have somebody that's just going to play it on PlayStation 4. I mean, it's just like how, well, there's Assassin's Creed on the PS4, but that doesn't mean that everybody's going to get it for the PS4, does it? They might buy it for the PS3. It doesn't necessarily mean anything. So simply because there's a device that's capable, like the Ouya, so because there is a device, or even with the Steam machine, so because there is a device that's capable of taking your Steam games and playing them on a TV, doesn't mean that somebody else is going to do that. They might just continue to do it on their computer. They might just continue to play their Android games on their phone or on their tablet. It's not guaranteed that they're going to go off and buy a Ouya. There's no guarantee with it. So it could go either way, but personally I think that dedicated gamers are going to continue to keep dedicated gaming devices. I don't really see... It's kind of like the PlayStation Vita TV. When they announced it, that's probably just going to be for people who don't want a handheld, but want to play Vita games. But yet, a true gamer is going to pick up the Vita and play it because that's what it was meant to be played on. It has the touchpad, it has the touch screen, it has all the, it has the camera, the gyroscope, it has all that stuff built into it that you can't get with a PlayStation Vita TV. So that's my 2 cents on the matter, guys. I know it's been kind of long-winded. I'm sorry. I don't know. I think you're an idiot if you think that gaming is going to go. Only because of the fact that I don't think the technology can catch up. And even if it does, you'll have a system that will come out for it. It's just like, I hear it all the time. Even people who are dumbass PC gamers, for whatever reason, you're a PC gamer, more power to you. I get it. And I get it in a sense. It's just not for me. But anyways, they always say, well, the PS4 can't handle it because my computer can do... Well, that's fine, but you have that money. So you can invest the money into making sure that you got that. Some people can't, and so a console works for them because they get the games that they can play on a PC, on a device that they know. And so that's how I think it will be. Maybe we'll be tired. Maybe a tablet will be able to keep up with something that the PlayStation 4 can do. But in a few years' time, a tablet will plateau and only be able to get so far, and by then a console will be able to put in a new part because it's a bigger part that they can fit in a bigger box and then be able to put it on this thing. And until they make the part small enough to fit into a tablet or into a phone, that tablet's only going to be so powerful, and then you're going to have gaming consoles that are going to be more powerful again. And I think it'll just be a back and forth thing. But I've gone on long enough. I apologize. Lord Ryujin, as always, guys, make sure that you like, subscribe, even comment with what you think about this subject. Thanks for listening, as always. I will see you guys next week. Have a good one.